Imagine you're a young mother, and then one day you just vanish. Months later, your remains are found, left in the woods. It's a story that sadly became the reality for Emily Strite, and we're diving deep into her case today.
Yeah, it's a case that just leaves you with so many questions. And we're going to try to unpack some of the details today using this news article you sent over. Hopefully we can find some of those, key details that a casual reader might miss at first glance.
Right, let's get into it. So, the article lays out a timeline, and some things immediately jump out. Like, it all starts on April 12th when Emily is last seen leaving her friend's place to DeSoto, Missouri. But get this, she left on foot.
That's strange right off the bat. I mean, was that a normal thing for her to do? Or could it be a sign she was meeting someone but trying to keep it on the down low? It's a small detail, but it makes you wonder about the circumstances surrounding, her leaving.
And it gets even more strange. That same day, she called her mom and mentioned she was heading to Illinois to see her three kids.
Which is really interesting because the article mentions her kids were living with their father, and Emily had what they describe as an abusive on-again, off-again relationship with him.
Wow, okay, I see why that detail stood out to you. That definitely changes things.
For sure. It's like, placing a new piece in a jigsaw puzzle. Suddenly you get a better picture of what's going on. We don't want to jump to conclusions, but this new info sheds new light on everything.
So she told her mom she was visiting her kids, but what about their father? Did he know she was coming?
And that's where it gets even more complicated. A week goes by, no word from Emily. Then, out of the blue, the children's father reaches out to Emily's mom, mentioning he also hadn't heard from her and that he wasn't expecting her to visit.
He wasn't expecting her. That seems strange. You'd think if she was going to see her kids, she would have told him.
Right. It's a huge question mark.
Yeah, it's like there's this whole other side to the story we don't know about.
Exactly. And sadly, that's where things go quiet for a while. Emily's mom reported her missing on April 20th. It wasn't until September 28th, almost half a year later, that the story took this, really sad turn.
That's when Emily's remains were found, right?
Yeah.
By a homeowner in DeSoto, in the woods. It's just, ugh, it's awful.
It really is. And for the investigators, this changes the whole game. Now it's not just a missing person case. Now it's a death investigation.
And the article said the cause of death is still unknown. So like natural causes or an accident or even something really bad, it's all still possible.
Which means investigators are going to be looking at where her remains were found very carefully. Like, was it a place she went to a lot? Were there any signs of a struggle or any other clues around? Those details could be super important to figure out what happened.
Right. The environment can tell you a lot, like in those forensic shows where they analyze every little thing. But there's something else that's weird here, right? The article mentioned that there are no suspects yet, or like anyone they're even looking at.
Yeah, and that just makes everything so much more complex. Without knowing how she died, it's almost impossible to say if someone hurt her or if something else happened. The investigators have their work cut out for them.
So we have all these relationships, a mysterious disappearance, and then months later, she's found. Where do you even begin to untangle all of that? What are you thinking based on what we know?
Well, it's interesting how many directions this could go. The article really highlights her rough relationship with her children's father, which is obviously concerning. But we have to keep in mind there are other possibilities. Did she run into someone else that day? Was there something going on in her life we don't know about, something that might have led her there? There are a lot of paths this could take.
It really is like every new piece of the puzzle just brings more questions. And it's easy to forget at the center of all this is Emily, a young mom whose life was cut way too short.
It's true. You can get lost in the details of a case and forget about the human impact. Emily's friends and family are dealing with this huge loss, and, they want answers.
Yeah, and the article mentioned they're asking for anyone who might know anything at all about Emily or what happened to come forward. It really shows how even the smallest detail could be important.
Oh, for sure. Sometimes it's just a small memory or something someone noticed that can crack a case wide open. And that's something to remember, not just with Emily's story, but in our own lives too. You never know what detail might be important later on.
It makes you think about how we go through life, the things we see and the things we just ignore. If you were Emily's friend or family, what would you hope people would remember about her last days? What little detail could maybe help explain all this?
It's a powerful thought. It shows how important our memories and experiences are, especially when we're trying to make sense of something we don't understand.
Emily's story is a reminder that these things can happen anywhere to anyone. It's a reminder to be present, to look out for each other, and to never dismiss something as unimportant. And to anyone listening, if you know anything about Emily's case, no matter how small, please contact the authorities. You might hold the piece of the puzzle that brings some closure to her loved ones. And to everyone else, let this be a reminder to hold your loved ones close and cherish every moment.